Welcome to the 111 Approach podcast, your go-to space for deep thoughts, real talk, and exploration of everything from spirituality to self-development and the mysteries of life with some light-hearted humour along the way. I'm your host, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer, and each episode will dive into different topics, sometimes personal, sometimes thought-provoking, but always authentic. So whether you're here for some new perspectives, inspiration, or just a fresh take on the world with a bit of randomness thrown into the mix, you're definitely in the right place. So what are you waiting for? Let's get into it. Hi, it's Lakshmi here, and before we start this week's episode, I need your help. Next year, I am taking on the biggest charity challenge I've ever done. Now, for those of you who know me well, you know I love to do things for charity ever since I was a child, from sponsored dance-a-thons, sponsored silences. Yes, I know, hard to believe me being quiet, right? Sponsored abseilings down buildings, and last year, even sleeping out on the streets of London in the middle of October in just a sleeping bag. I really try and push and immerse myself in things to raise money for good causes. And next year, I am climbing Mount Kilimanjaro for not one, but two amazing children's charities. Cordwell Children, who help disabled and autistic children all over the world, and Cordwell Youth, who empower at-risk adults aged 11 to 24. Now, this is the biggest challenge I've ever taken on because, number one, the target I need to hit is the biggest one to date. I need to raise £5,000, all of which goes to the charities, because actually the trip and expedition itself is self-funded. But hey, if you're a business and would like to sponsor that side of it, please get in touch with me. And number two, I've never climbed a mountain in my life. Although I did make up my mind at age 5 that I did find a mountain in Canada and claimed it as my own. But that's a story for another day. So please, if you are able to make a donation, no matter how big or small, it will really help me reach that target. And I will be forever grateful to you, as will the children who the money will go to. So thank you again. The link will be in the show notes below, and enjoy this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the 111 Approach podcast with me, Lakshmi, aka the 1 Minute Healer. And as always, I start and finish every single thing that I do, including this podcast, with a gratitude sandwich. So I want to start off by saying thank you so much to everyone who has been listening, supporting, and leaving some reviews and rating the podcast. Really do appreciate it. And I want to say a big thank you for everyone who's already donated to my Mount Kilimanjaro charity trek. For those of you who haven't, there is still time. I'm trying to get to my target before Christmas. So if you can, any donation, no matter how big and how small, I'm very, very grateful. So thank you so much. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode, because I have an incredible guest on today, the most beautiful soul, who is the most ultimate powerhouse, I think. Because when I was writing the intro, I was just a bit like, and she's done this, and she's done that. I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. So before I diverge who it is, I have to say I'm very honoured, because I have had the pleasure of not only listening to some of her incredible motivational talks and reading her not one, but 2 award-winning and best-selling books. I've also been honoured to have been a guest on her podcast for her incredible membership that she hosts. And also, she invited me to be a guest speaker at her Find Your Confidence event last year. I've also given her some distant energy healing as well online. But on top of all of that, she has also been an actress on some iconic TV shows, including Biker Grove, Casualty, and Waterloo Road. And if that wasn't enough as well, she's been on Top of the Pops, MTV, and Disney when she was on a singing career. And she's also given a TEDx talk. Like, wow. What else can I say? I've run out of space and breath. But you know what? She is incredible at everything she puts her mind to. It is the one and only Holly Matthews, everyone. Woo! I wish I had like some sound.
So much. I know. It's always a weird thing when you're at the beginning of a podcast and people are listing all of the things that you've done, and then it's only really these moments where you take stock and it actually makes you remember the stuff that you've done. So thank you for reminding me that I've done some pretty cool stuff, and I feel very grateful that I've had such lovely opportunities to do those things. And you were like, you said at the beginning how we've connected, and I am so lucky to have connected with you in all of the ways. And my event last year, I literally had said beforehand, I'm not bringing anybody else into this time because I wanted to make it nice and small. But once we had connected, I was like, we need a bit of you in the room. Like,
Oh.
we need you in there. And we were so lucky, and that looked such positive feedback for everything that you did. You just brought just a gorgeous energy to the space, and did a lovely session for everyone. So thank you for doing that as well.
Oh, thank you so much. That really warms my heart. And yeah, you know what? I just feel like when you're meant to cross paths with someone, and like I think we were just talking before we officially started this episode, me and Holly just have the same outlook, and we stand for the very similar kind of things, which is
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about on this episode. But before we get into that, I always ask Holly, what is your origin story?
Yeah. So I was plonked on this planet in Newcastle upon Tyne in a very normal working class family. My dad was a welder. My mum worked in a bank. I've got a younger sister, Becky. And the one thing I was always gifted with in my family was I was allowed to be myself. Like, I just was allowed to be a creative little weirdo. I'd like to write poetry and sing songs and put on plays, and that was never curtailed. Like, it was just be yourself, do. And my mum and dad were actually punks when I was younger. So, like, they were kind of very much, you know, going against the grain. Bearing in mind, my mum came from an Irish Catholic family, so it was absolutely abhorrent what she looked like. You know, she shaved her head and had bleached blonde shaved head, and
Oh my gosh, she sounds amazing.
we got married with, my mum was in a red wedding dress with red spiky hair. My dad was in a zoot suit and like, I think like purple shoes, purple bridesmaid, purple dress, purple hair. Like, it was wild. He was in a church as well, which is quite interesting. But I mean, nowadays that wouldn't even be like an issue, would it? But
Yeah.
like, then it was an issue. Like, you know, that generation kind of paved the way for what we see now. They kind of, they did all of the groundwork so we can do ours. So I grew up in that household, and I grew up with a family of talkers, a family of debaters, people who were happy to have conversation. Also a family who really believed in, standing up for what was right. So from very early, young age, I was on picket line, I'll be on marches, anti-racism marches, and like, my dad was a union man, so he was always, standing up for people. And I was very much brought up with the mindset of, you treat people well. If you've got values you believe in, you stand by them no matter what situation you're in. Obviously keep yourself safe, but I was taught to run my mouth basically if I needed to, and I've never stopped. So I was lucky that I grew in a tolerant family who just want to like look out for people and stand up for people. But I was also allowed to be myself. When I was growing up, I didn't know that I was neurodivergent as well, that I have ADHD, and we don't really know that existed back in the 80s and early 90s. It wasn't really a thing. So as this person who had all this energy and this creative spirit, I was lucky that my parents took me to a local drama group. So I went to this group, and I realized then that you could actually be an actor for a job, and that was a thing. And so essentially you could just play forever and pretend. And I was like, I'm about that life. Like, I want to do that. I also then realized I was pretty good at it. And people seemed to, give applause when I did that stuff. And obviously you get a dopamine high off that. So I went into that world. And again, looking back, I also recognized there was I learned how to mask. I learned how to people please with that tool as well, sadly. Obviously had to unpick that later on. But I'm a very driven person. I'm a very ambitious person. And when I want to do something, I'm relentless in finding a way. And so I was like, well, I need to be an actor. I am an actor. How do I get Steven Spielberg to listen to me and get that Oscar and all of that stuff? I wanted to go to RADA from being like 10. I was like, I'm going to go to drama school. And I found out that there was a TV show called Biker Grove, which you mentioned at the start, which was a kids' TV show based in the Northeast. And roundabout where we ended up getting told that we should write a letter to the show and ask for a part. It was very basic back in the day. We didn't have drama schools or anything up there. So it was just a lot of normal kids went into the show. And I wrote a letter to Biker Grove, the cast, and I wrote it. And what's hilarious, I thought it was like an urban legend for a while, because it felt like it was a long time ago. And my parents found it on their computer, some file somewhere, and they printed it out and put it on a canvas for my 30th birthday.
Oh.
It's so funny. Like, it's in Comic Sans. So
oh my God. Shout out to Comic Sans.
People slacking it off now. Back in the day, that meant you were fun, You were good fun. You were
It was like an FU to Times New Roman and Arial. That was the quirky font, wasn't it? That was the quirky font.
Like, I'm casual and like, look at me. So I use Comic Sans. I know a designer dies when we use that now, but let's not. Let's just brace it. It was of its time. And it says, my name is Holly and I am an actress. And like, I just affirmed it. Like, I was an actress. Was. And I have brown hair, and I've done that in brown, and green eyes, and I've done that in green. Just like, let them know visually, you know, there was no headshot. I probably drew a picture. And it says, I would like to be an actress. I would like a part in your show. So I'm just like telling them what I want, you know, like say what you want. And I'm not shy one bit, it says in it. I'm just letting you know. And then at the very bottom, it just says, please write back soon, because I was just like really keen. And then they did, and they got me in for auditions. Didn't get the part in the end. Did about 6 auditions, didn't get it. But instead of, and this is definitely comes down to having a family that supported me, I didn't think at the end of that, well, that's it then, that's it, ruined. I'm never going to do that again. And that was horrible. I failed. I just thought, well, then it's doable, because I got on set, I read the script, I met the cast, so I just do it again. Like in my mind, I nearly did it, so let's just do it again. As it happens, 6 months later, they wrote a part in for me, and I went and I did 7 years on that TV show. So all of growing up was on TV. And, you know, I look back now and I think the way that I did business there now is the way that I did it back then. Like I still just go, can I do it? Can I have that job? Can I do this? I want to do that. And a lot of the time it works because nobody else asks, and you're the only one that just explicitly says what you want. And that's the lesson that I've learned works. I went into the world of acting. That was all I thought I would ever do. And I, as you said, bounced around TV shows and signed to Sony and did all of that stuff, went to drama school. And then I met my husband, and an absolute, like, just an explosion of two humans coming together who matched each other. And his friends would call us Rolly because of his name Ross and my name Holly. Ross was a big character, autistic guy, very black and white in his thinking. And we just matched, and we had fun together. And we had 2 kids, Brooke and Texas, who my girls who are 14 and 12 now. And sadly, you know, like lots of people in life, we then went on a journey that we didn't want to. And Ross was diagnosed with brain cancer in 2014. It was rare. It was normally found in children, normally found at the back of the head. His was at the front. Ross would describe himself as one of a kind. And I was really annoyed that he got a one-of-a-kind brain cancer, because that's just taking the piss. But very typical of him. So to have got something so rare. And we had Ross for 3.5 years with that cancer, and we did all of the stuff that comes with it, all of the treatments and 2 brain surgeries and radio and chemo. And then in 2017, he could no longer keep that cancer at bay, and Ross died in Myton Hospice. And so for me, that origin story, it kind of how I got to the point of being in the world of self-development and confidence, I had always done it for myself because I grew up as that weird kid on telly, and I learned to cosplay as a neurotypical. And I was, you know, I would have been classed as the popular kid at school, but I was going home and listening to monks chanting and like meditating secretly. Like I was feeling out all of this self-development stuff in my own way that I look back now and I do wonder where that came from. But I think mostly it was a desire to not feel shit. And I was like, there has to be a way to not feel like this. I would often describe, I felt like I was behind a pane of glass, and that I was acting a version of me that was palatable to everybody else, but yet I was not connected. They were connected to this version of me. People will connect to me in an instant because I'm open as a person. And so people would connect, but they were getting a version, they were getting a curated version of me. And as we know, and you know, like that's exhausting, and you feel lonely and you're not connected to that. And it took me a long time to recognize, one, that I was doing that because it was just all I knew, and to really get back to feeling good and to myself. And that was all of the self-development work I did in the background. Ross dying and Ross getting sick brought it to the foreground, because suddenly I was in something where I had to use these tools that I'd never had to really use at this level before. And and then I began trying to help other people around, going, well, this is how we're dealing with it. Try this, don't do this. And I just think because of acting and my ability to deliver it, and because I had a lot of knowledge in it for a long time for myself, it just seemed to land with people. And, since Ross's death, that just expanded because it felt more important, and it felt more important than the acting that I was doing.
Wow. Oh my goodness. It's just, I've known your story, obviously, like the shell of the story. I've known what's happened to you, but this is the first time, obviously, I've heard it in such detail and through, the sequential sort of various events that happened. And I'll be honest, I was fighting back the tears.
Yeah.
But like, it's very rare that I'm lost for words, Holly. And right now, there is just so much there. And I just want to take a moment to pause and just give you some, I guess, space to just digest that. And the way you speak about it, and I know you've spoken about it quite a lot of times, and it's kind of your purpose now to share that story and share all that. But I just want to literally applaud you, like energetically and physically as well, because that takes a lot of heart, soul, energy, like you said, but just resilience for you to just articulate that and just bring that to the surface, and then now make it your mission to go out and spread this positivity, this authenticity, and helping people feel safe. And I think that's where I really connected with you, is because you made me and others feel safe to be that weird, outspoken, bit out there kind of kid. But that's come from such a, I suppose, like heavy place for you. Because, I want to touch on a few things that you've said there. Going back, firstly, when you were talking about your audition, people would look at you and be like, oh, she was on Piker Grove. That must have been such a easy kind of, oh, she just got in there kind of thing. But obviously, no, you didn't get the part, first and foremost. So thank you so much for sharing that. And as you were saying that story, I literally had genuinely forgotten about this part of my life. I had a flashback. I loved acting. I still do, to be fair.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I did want to be an actress.
I see that in you. I do see that. There's a performer, for sure.
Yeah, and I had always had this thing. I was like obsessed with Hollywood and obsessed with America as well. I was like, I'm going to move to LA and become an actress. And so much so to the point where I actually applied to go to university in America in UCLA. My dad was like, no. When he saw the fees for overseas students, he was like, no way. He was like, you study here and then you can move to America if you still want to go and do that. But I got offered, I think I was about 13 or 14. I think there was some kind of show that they were like recruiting for or auditioning for. And I went to read for the part of an Indian girl, and I had zero training. I did speech and drama at school, but it was just, high school stuff, not even high school, primary school stuff. Yeah. And I went to read for this part with absolutely zero idea of how to go for an audition, hadn't done any acting whatsoever. And I think I was so nervous. I went in there and I read the script, and even the lady, she was like, is this your first time? I think I said no, because I was thinking, shit, if I say this is my first audition, they're going to be just like, what the hell are you doing here? And then she gave me this weird look, and then she was like, okay. And then I heard from her again. She must have thought, what the hell? Now I think back, I was like, shit, I should have said it was my first audition, because it was, and B, they might have given me a bit of a leeway and given me a little bit more direction.
Oh, but you were young, and
I had zero, but from that, I think that was just like, right, no, I'm just not good enough for it. And then I just left it. And when I was listening to you, something in my heart was just like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Like, I wish there was platforms or stories that were shared when we were growing up, because we were so lucky now that people have access to content, and they have access to people like yourself who have been in the limelight, but they can access you. They can hear about the reality of what it takes to get to where you are.
The good and the bad as well. Like they can hear both sides of it. Like there was great stuff in that, and Biker Grove was a brilliant experience for me. But then in other ways we weren't at all. Like on the one hand, we were protected in that we were very much in a bubble. Like I went on set and I would do my thing, I would go home. And I didn't really, it was 6 months of the year we'd be filming, 6 months that would be on TV. And we didn't, and then I went to school and it was just a normal kid. When it was on TV, I didn't know what people thought about it, other than people who I went to school with. Whereas now, instant access. If somebody wanted to speak to me, they had to write a letter and send it in the post, and it would get to the casting department, and they would go, absolutely not, we will pop that in the pile over there and she won't see that. I was very protected. However, the flip side of that is we weren't, from a psychological point of view, protected. So I was talking about this because Biker Grove has just been uploaded on ITV, so it's been so wild for me because Ant and Dec actually own the rights to it, and so it hasn't been anywhere for a long time. You get clips on YouTube, but they're like grainy images and stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been watching some of it, and it's so weird. I mean, I can't explain. It's like you suddenly being able to have access to clips of you at school. Like I don't really remember until I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, I can remember being there that day. I can remember what I was thinking when I did that scene. But because of that, I've been doing a few kind of interviews and stuff about that time, and with one of my friends, Andrew Hayden Smith, he's doing some series of meeting cast from Biker, and we were talking about like the mental health side of it, and like one of the things I remembered recently, which in today's day and age, like it just wouldn't be happening, but we were kids that were, going to normal schools. So most of us were getting absolute like abuse at school. Kids are ruthless in secondary school. Most kids were being either bullied or they adapted. And I think I was a mix of the two. I would never have said I got bullied, but it was not easy for me at school. Like I was constantly in fight or flight at school. Like I avoided it at all costs because I was the kid off the telly.
So okay, so that let's explore that a little bit, because how was that? I would have thought, oh wow, it would have been so cool to hey, there's a kid that's on like TV from a school. Like, oh my God, how amazing.
Well, I moved schools, so like that tells you a lot. So I got the part on Biker, so I was in year 7. And I had this assumption that because when you're in that cushion of being in your supportive environment, that everybody would be like, yeah, this is so nice, how great. But they weren't. And very early on, I realized it was not going to be received in a positive way. And not only the students, but the teachers, they were dickheads, some of those teachers.
Really?
I moved schools in year 8 and I went to a different school, and it was not any different there, other than when I moved schools, I thought, I ain't going to put up with this anymore. I'm going to make sure I am a bigger version of me. And so that is probably much more when I was like, I just need to be in the popular crowd and do whatever that takes to be that. Because that's my survival. And so, I was doing all the same drinking and doing all of the stuff that, trying to fit in, secretly coming home and still meditating and doing shit like that, because I was protecting myself and I was doing that kind of self-development stuff. But I wouldn't have dreamt of telling anybody that while I was drinking Lambrini on the switch.
Lambrini, oh my God. The cherry one. I remember they brought out a cherry flavour. I was like,
I get me a 2-litre bottle of cheap wine and, living on Space Raiders crisps instead of actual food. Yeah, genius. I mean, I don't know how we survived those 90s and early 2000s, quite frankly. Like,
I'll be honest, I do not understand how our bodies are still functioning with the amount of E-numbers. Like, I used to smash out, blue Panda Pops.
Perfect. Yeah, mine was American cream soda in green.
So sweet. Anything blue I'd have. So the blue raspberry, the blue Panda Pops, I would genuinely smash out about 4 a day.
Yeah, I was at that shop gorging on sugar. No wonder my ADHD was getting worse. So yeah, I think that kind of perception was that it was going to be positive, but I found it like even teachers, and that, as an adult now, I'm like, teachers, they're just human beings. Yeah. But at the time, you see them as your elders and you expect a certain level of respect. And I didn't get that. I had teachers, again, this is horrendous looking back now. I had one teacher, IT teacher, I actually can't remember his name. Otherwise, I would literally call him out on this podcast because I air my shit because people need to be told. Yeah. But this teacher was a creep, right? And he was telling other classes, if you get your work done, you can have a kiss off the girl off Biker Grove. Like no one,
No
no one.
way.
What's interesting is I felt that I was like the ugliest person in the whole world. Like I felt so horrible in my own skin. I really struggled with the way that I looked. And then being put on TV and having a makeup artist correct your face every day for 6 months
Mm.
really doesn't help with that. So I was going through all of that teenage stuff that we do, and then mine was on a platform where everyone could look at it and point. And so I was already dealing with all of that stuff. And then in, sort of year 9, year 10, I'm starting to, I still feel the same, but suddenly the words that are being said to me are now, who do you think you are? You love yourself, and boys fancy me. So I'm no different internally. I hate myself internally. I don't like the way I look. Obviously, I've shifted into a space where suddenly I'm being seen as attractive.
Mhm.
And now girls hate me.
Mhm.
And I'm being told I love myself when internally I literally don't. I was really struggling with the way that I look. So then for a teacher to say something like that was poking all kinds of insecurities. Girls were awful to me at school like that. So I'd have teachers say things like, oh, you're not on Biker Grove now. If I didn't
Yeah.
hand my homework in, oh, were you up all night learning scripts? Like mock me in front of people, knowing I was
Wow.
already dealing with that in school. I mean, I had one teacher, and I know, teachers are human and all of that, but um, I remember getting an award and I was wearing a skirt and we all had tiny little skirts on, like everybody did. But because
Yeah,
I
you
was,
used to roll them up and then have to tuck your shirt out so you hide the bulge.
yeah, I mean, and they're still doing the same now. It's no
Yeah.
different, right? It's been since time began, and people are just having fun and exploring who they are. And what we shouldn't be doing is making them feel disgusting about
Mm.
it, right? So I got an award. I got up in assembly and I sat back down, assuming I'd done something good that day. And this teacher went, "You can stay behind." And I was like, that doesn't seem positive. And she had a go at me for the way that I looked. She was saying, you wear too much makeup. Bear in mind, I really struggle with the way I look. So I was wearing makeup to try and hide myself. No different to anybody else.
Yeah.
But some of the teachers, because I had this platform, wanted to make a mockery out of me in front of people. So they'd get like makeup remover and make me take my makeup off in class and like make fun of me, but while allowing everybody else to do it. And this teacher said, you've got too much makeup on and I'm not going to say what you look like in that skirt, right? And I told my mom, and my mom was annoyed. So she rang this teacher and said, tell me what my daughter looks like in that skirt. And
Mm.
she said, the boys are distracted by Holly. And it basically implied I was a distraction to the boys in the class. No mention of tell the boys to stop looking or
Mm.
have a conversation with the boys or that ain't Holly's fucking problem.
Exactly.
And she's just a teenage girl exploring who she is and stop trying to, slut shame, as they would call it now.
Yeah.
And that's what you're trying to do. And so I was dealing with being that kid on the telly and the kids already calling you out for that anyway, trying to find my place in school. But I'm also getting called out by teachers. My drama teacher hated me. Like, why would the drama teacher hate you? But it might be because he wants to be an actor. And I'm
Exactly. Yeah.
it's only as an adult I understand that now, but
Yeah.
when you're in it, it was hard. And then
Mm.
from a mental health point of view, in terms of Biker Grove and the BBC and how did they check in with us, like that wasn't happening. We had chaperones and stuff on set whose job was to look after us. They were amazing. But like, I remember there must have been some legislation that came in because at some point during my 7 years, we had to go and see a psychologist, a psychiatrist. And I remember we had this tutor bus out the back, so just like a pop-up school
Mm.
out the back of where we filmed. I remember this day we had to all go and line up, all the like main cast. And like we went into this one room where, bear in mind, everybody's waiting outside and it's like one of those cabins so you can hear everything. It's not like there's any privacy. Go in, someone's there with a clipboard, just essentially, are you all right? That was about the beginning end of it. And obviously you're just like, yeah, I
Oh
guess
my
so. Okay,
gosh.
off you pop then. Tick.
Oh my
It was like that. I mean, that
gosh.
was the beginning and end of like
Your mental
in
health
mental
check-in.
health. Yeah. But it's, again, I'm not even blaming because we just didn't understand and we were the guinea pigs. And I'm lucky that nothing bad, nothing so bad happened that will definitely have had happened on other TV sets because we've watched lots of programs about it.
Mm.
There was not a safety net there. And no one checked in the 6 months we weren't filming. Nobody was checking in to go, how are you coping emotionally with the fact you're the kid off the telly now?
Yeah.
And how's school? Nobody ever asked that. Like we talked about amongst the cast, but you just dealt with it. And I think that certainly gave me a level of resilience. And for me to get through that because it was a difficult time, the thing that got me through was knowing that there was a bigger picture for me and that I wasn't going to stay there. I just knew. And for some people, they'll see that as egotistical or that I thought I was better than where I was from. I didn't. I just knew I wasn't going to stay there. And my dad, particularly, who had come from nothing and very much taught me and my sister he always said to us, people are always going to know you're working class because of your voice. You're going to give away, like,
I love your voice. Oh my gosh.
I'm quite passionate. Yeah.
Northern banter, I love it. I always say, because I'm from Birmingham, right?
Yeah.
And I live in London now, but I always say the further up north you go, the better the banter, the better the accent, and the better the water. Prove me wrong.
That's true. That is definitely. Well, I feel like I've lived north, south, and then now the middle. I feel like I've got a good grasp of our country overall. And I always say people are people one-on-one, like people are the same, but there is cultural shifts wherever you go. And there's some parts of the Midlands that are north facing and take their nod from the north, and some are south. So Solihull, Leamington, you lot are south facing.
Yeah.
You're taking your nod from London. And whereas Birmingham and Leicester, they're looking north.
Yeah.
They're very similar in ideology. I think there's similar. So when I moved to Coventry, I was like, oh, this is a bit more northern. Like, they're not as direct as Geordies. Geordies are very direct. But it was different when I was down south. There was a lot more of a standoffishness. That was new to me.
Yeah. Oh man, that's great. You know what? Thank you so much for opening up and sharing how you were actually feeling, especially about your insecurities about the way you looked, because, I know people say this to you all the time, but you are freaking stunning. You're gorgeous. But I totally resonate with what you're saying, because I still sometimes go through the same things where I was a proper geek when I had the glasses, I had the plaits. It was bad time. When I was 14, glow up happened because my mom got me some contact lenses. And then I remember coming back to school in year 9 and I had my lenses in and I was like, I look normal. I actually don't mind looking at myself in the mirror.
One of them films when the actually really hot girl takes her glasses off and people are like, oh my God, she was hot or young. That was you.
She's all that.
Yes,
she's all that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that much of a glow up. I was still very scrawny, very like beanpole, kind of awkward. But I was like, I don't have glasses. I'm not the geeky one. And again, similar. I was trying to get in with the popular group.
Yeah.
I went to all girls school, and then there was a boys school down the road. But it was just very strange because then I did notice the shifts, and that the girls don't really like you anymore, and even still to this day.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet.
Horrible. And I'm glad we're talking about this because I have wanted to talk about this topic where when you are a good looking, it's hard to say without kind of like.
The way I've always said it, because I've been an actor, I've always seen myself as a character or an actor. And I understand the pros and cons of how we look. I understand, you understand that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? But what we're talking about here is there are Western world beauty standards that we both pass for. We tick the boxes. I understand pretty privilege, and that doesn't mean that everybody's going to fancy me or you. They're not, and some people will think we're awful. But we do hit a certain level. The world that we are living in will go, you tick a box, right? And in certain spaces, people don't like that. I have the same conversations about weight. So I've always been small. I was literally 3 pound born. I'm not a big person.
Oh my gosh.
I was creme. Like I've grown as much as I can. 5'1". I got 5'1". Yeah. I'm a tiny human being. I know that. I also understand, in a similar way, I can't discuss not liking the way that I look because I'm a size 6. Interestingly, I did, because I wrote my second book called Find Your Confidence, and the last chapter is about appearance, and it was put there for a reason because it's so important to all of us, and all of us have a story. And I was really, really cautious. That was a hard chapter to write because I struggled to a deep level about that. Like, I had body dysmorphia. Like, I really struggled with it. And I'm not in that place now, thankfully, but it can still be triggered at certain points. And I realized that when I had my daughters, and I suddenly went from being this tiny size 6, I was still a size 6, pregnant, but with a big stomach.
Mm-hmm.
So after I had given birth, I had stretch marks all over my stomach and I was left with that saggy balloon skin. And I mean, I had, bought into every beauty thing. I'd been bathing in oil and doing all the things that they say, and it's just fucking genetic. You get it or you don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing you can do. Your skin's made that way or it's not. And so I got stretch marks like someone had scratched up my stomach and I sobbed. I was so upset about it. I was gutted. I felt like I'd been stitched up. And it triggered all of my old stuff. Even though I thought I'd done all this work, it triggered stuff in me and I just felt disgusted. And I went in Birmingham, actually, at Harley Street Surgery, and I asked for a tummy tuck. Now, bear in mind, I was a size 6. I know logically this, I'm saying it now as somebody that's not in that place now. But at that time, again, I went back to that place of I can't see straight. I'm a body dysmorphic. I can't see what other people are saying to me. And I went in and she looked at me and she refused it. She said, no way. There's nothing there and I'm not doing it. And the woman was actually great. She got her own stomach out and everything. She was like, no, she said, you've literally just had a baby. It's not going to do anything. If you want laser, to take down some of the stretch marks, we could do that. You don't need a tummy tuck. I'm glad that that person was sensible. Some places wouldn't have been for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I shared this story for the Daily Mail and the comment section were a cesspit and it was all, who do you think you are? You love yourself. Like it was all the stuff that I grew up with of people going, you can't feel like that because you look like that.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's nonsense because you can still feel like shit.
Yeah,
Because
and you're allowed to, and you're
yeah,
allowed to feel like shit. Like you can't tell me how I'm feeling. Like this
yeah.
is, oh, it's bringing me to tears because it really, really hits home. And I've, I get it all the time as well. When I said, oh, I'm just like, trying to fit it back into my jeans. They're like, you don't need
Oh,
to, da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did I ask you for
yeah.
comments about my body and how I feel about my body? And that story, thank you for sharing that about the tummy tuck. Because I actually, before I got married, I really wanted to get my ears pinned back just slightly because my ears always pop through. I went to 3 different places. I think I went to the Harley Street one in clinic in Birmingham as well. But because I suffer from keloid scarring, no plastic surgeon wanted to do it. They were like, no, I'm not going to do it. Because obviously for them, they want to keep a good track record of like, this is how it heals. And if they've got someone who heals with keloid scarring.
I'm not against plastic surgery, right? And I'm not against people having tweaks and things like that. If it makes them feel better, I'm not against that. But I think we've got to be careful that if it's unended, and it can be, if you haven't done the internal work, it'll never stop. And I've got friends like that, and their face is filled with filler. And again, I'm not saying that that's wrong in itself because it might make you feel great, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's making sure that you've done that inner work first before you make that decision. Otherwise, no amount of surgery will change anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
I am very body positive in like we can be beautiful in any size. Like for me, that's a given in my world. Like beauty is in what we see in it, and it's not a size at all. What I haven't enjoyed about the body positivity movement as it's become as it's moved forward, and that space I think just demonizes another group. Now I'm a hate figure because I'm a size 6. So now I'm not allowed to be body positive. I went to one thing once and it was a catwalk, underwear catwalk, right? And I'm sat there and the woman gets on the mic and she goes, so everybody here, this is real women, none of your size 6 nonsense. And I'm like, well, I am a real person sat here as a size 6. And it would like calling me not a real woman
That's
it's
crazy.
just like, it's the same shit. We're just demonizing another group. That doesn't make it better. That's not body positivity. That's going, this group's better than that group. And that's literally not what I'm about. It's not, I know it's not what you're about either.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting conversation because, I want to touch upon what you said earlier, which is such a beautiful thing for me, for you to say that you felt safe in my space. That to me is so important. And based on my origin story and everything that I've experienced, and also how I was brought up, that to me is so important, and it really goes into why I talk about the stuff that I talk about now, which is being your weirdest self.
Yeah.
When we feel safe to wear what we want, to talk about the things we want, to just come into a space, and you do that amazingly as well, to just let people be themselves. When we can do that for people, we unlock such magic in people. Like, they give themselves permission to be. And that comes from that feeling of safety. And for me, that comes from, I don't fucking judge your story. I know that people will come into my space and they'll tell me, I've heard it all. You'll have heard it all as well, right? Heard so many different versions, and people think their story is so unique. And we literally have barely had a unique experience, guys, I'm afraid, right? We might have a different version of it, but
Yeah.
it's the same shit, different day. And I want people to know that it's like, I really believe that we can shift and change. I understand how we get to some shitty places, doing some shitty stuff to ourselves or even other people. And I think when we can give people that room to go, it's all right that you felt like that. You're not a shit person for being a size 6 woman and feeling like that, or ticking every pretty box but still feeling shitty. You're not a crap person. That makes sense that you would feel like that based on your lived experience, because we all have that different lived experience. And I think for me, throughout my life, I've always been that voice and always felt such a drive to do that. Like, even when I didn't do self-development stuff, like, I would be the one that would, I and sometimes to my own detriment, but I can't allow somebody to bully someone in my presence or to talk down or pull someone down. Like, and so it's always remembering that you don't know somebody else's story. And for me, that's why it's always important to say when someone does good, like, say, you're fucking brilliant or you look beautiful. Like, both my daughters will always compliment people. I love that about them. Like, we'll be out and about and one of them will say, oh my God, I love your hair, to somebody. And I would say, you just don't know when somebody needs that. They need to hear they did a good job. That's been ingrained in me forever. And I think that even now in my work that I do, it's how can I help people to see their brilliance? How can I unlock it so they feel free to let that weird out and to be their weirdest, most authentic self? Because it's fucking easier when we do. It's much easier.
Yeah, 100%. And this is what you do so well. And because of everything you've gone through and the platforms you've been on, what you're doing, I just feel it's people, although they might think, oh, well, she's been on TV, I can't resonate with her. But we can so much because of everything you share and the way you share it. You're so open, and like I said, you make people feel safe. And that's what I felt like. I remember, can we just talk about the Find Your Confidence event from last year? Like,
Yeah.
amazing. Just to let you listeners know, Holly ran an event last year, and it was all to do with her second book.
Yeah.
And on the ticket it said wear your most outrageous, loud and proud outfit, like the craziest outfit that you feel the most confidence in. And I remember I wore my lace see-through red dress that I'd worn a few months prior at the International Women's Day at Houses of Parliament. And I took that opportunity to rewear that dress at your event. And I wore it with trainers this time because I was like, I am not wearing heels. And I felt so safe wearing that dress at your event. I did not have any kind of like, oh, is it a bit too much? Oh, is it like too much ass showing?
Never too much. It's
Never.
always more.
And that's what I love about you. I love that you stand for what the hell is too much anyway. And I'm kind of like now bringing that in, because I've always been told, oh, you're a bit too much, you're too loud like me, or you're too much, or calm down, and you're like, you always want to try and stand out. And like, I speak about it a lot on previous episodes about that paradox of trying to fit in but also stand out. Like, it's just like
it's a weird thing. And I felt this and so many women particularly that I work with feel this same. I feel I'm being told I'm too much. I feel too much, but also somehow I feel not enough.
Yeah.
What the hell is that about? I've noticed even just in your messaging, and I've not even said this to you before, but just watching your stuff on social media, I've felt you lean into that over the last year even. Like, I've seen that lean into it. and it makes you stand out. Because in fact, I've got a sign somewhere kicking about in here, and it says, "You're not too much, they just weren't enough." And in the wrong rooms, we will feel too much. Sometimes it's we're not in the right spaces. You're not too much for the right people, the right rooms, the right spaces. The right people are going to get what you're about. And in fact, we want more. Like, I don't want less of you. I want more of you, because I resonate with your message and how you deliver it. And I think we're all so conditioned from birth to try to fit in, because it's safer to fit in than to stand out. But then we go into a workspace or into business, and we get told, well, you need to stand out to actually make your mark. And it's alien to us. And so for me in my work, the message is the same. It is be your weirdest self. Now, what does that mean? It means be your most authentic self. It means understand yourself. We all will know our own quirks and our difficulties. And listen, I've always said my too muchness is why I do what I do. I talk too much. I'm too loud. I'm too this. Well, that's a good thing in this side. Does that mean that I don't need to shut up sometimes? No, sometimes I need to shush. But sometimes it doesn't mean we don't tweak and create scaffolding to make sure that we are being the best version of ourselves and being social and interacting with others and giving other people space. We can notice those things about ourselves with compassion and go, listen, I'm a person who talks a lot. I have a tendency to interrupt. I have a busy brain, so that's all going to come out of my mouth. I'm impulsive. I know that stuff about me. Now, in another life, I'm calling myself names for that. Another version of me was unkind to me. But for every negative thing that we get told, every label, there is going to be a flip side that is positive. My impulsiveness, in some respects, that's not great always. It can get you in trouble, but it also makes me press go on ideas very quickly.
Exactly. You don't sit around and wait and procrastinate, you know?
I just go on it. And sometimes 9 times out of 10, it's actually a good thing. The 10th time, it's a shit show, right? I talk a lot about anger, and I know you talk about your emotions and how processing emotions and stuff as well. And anger is always seen as this really negative emotion, but it can be positive in the right spaces.
Beautiful. Yeah,
It can
you
be
need it.
when we channel that anger, that anger that I will feel about some of the stuff we're seeing in the world right now, some of the divisive language, I will use that anger to create something fucking brilliant. I'm not going to be trying to pull other people down, but what I am going to be doing is using that fury that I feel about people doing that to create good stuff. And there's always that positive around that. I mean, untapped anger is one thing, just screeching at people in the street. That's not a good use of your anger. But you can channel your anger into programs and posts and ways of helping. And the people that are on the front line of every march and political movement, they'll be the ones that have got that fury. They want to make change and in hopefully in a positive way. So, we just have to remind ourselves that the things that probably were labeled and we believe are something negative, there's probably something alongside that that's good about that.
I would even argue, and not just take out the word probably, there is something, because there's always duality. So whatever is deemed negative, there is always a positive.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
You just have to flip it. You get to choose. You know what? You don't get to let people decide for you, especially when they're talking about you and even yourself, because we can be like you said, our own worst critic and our own harshest negative self-talk. But that's where the beautiful superpower, I call it, of awareness comes in. Once you start becoming aware of your thoughts and what you're saying to yourself, or even what someone else is saying to yourself, I can choose to let that thought make me feel shit. And it probably will at the beginning, but I can choose to then see, right, let me transmute it to something positive. And it might not be straight away. It's just your sign. Your awareness is going to be your helpful tool to just get you back to that space. And that's why I love what you've created with your Happy Me membership, is you've created that safe space for people to come in and feel like they're not alone, because you're so right with everyone's story is unique, but not unique at the same time. Like you said, it's unique to you because it's your experience, but guaranteed, like, hello, you're a freaking singer and actress and TEDx talk speaker. But some of the stuff that you mentioned, I was like, oh shit, I've had an experience very similar to that. But it's like, to think, of us as like two separate people. Like, she's an actress and I'm an energy healer. We probably don't have much in common or haven't had very many similarities in terms of experiences. But guess what? Yeah, we have. It's just been wrapped up in a different
bowl. That's it. That's 100% it. And
Yeah.
I've worked with people from all walks of life,
Mm.
and I think that's actually one of the most comforting things for me. I know that the people that often we put on these pedestals have the same insecurities. We're all doing our best. None of us have got a roadmap of what this is going to look like. We're doing our best in real time, which means we're going to fuck up and we're going to do good some days, and we're going to have the same thoughts we're dealing with and the same triggers. And that's why when we, as you say, that awareness of self, we can start to spot our stuff earlier doors, and we can go, oh, that I can see why that's triggering for me. I can see based on my old stories why that's hard. And we talk a lot about, limiting beliefs and things like that in our spaces. But I often remind people that, when we're dealing with limiting beliefs, it's not a one and done. Like, it's almost like tending a garden. They're weeds, those limiting beliefs, and you got to keep pulling them out sometimes. And it's almost like whack-a-mole. Like, sometimes
I love that game.
yeah, whack-a-mole, isn't it? It's like one's come up and you're like, oh, I thought I dealt with you, but you've come up with a different version, and I wasn't expecting that. And so we just have to understand your triggers and your pain points, and where that might come up for you, because you'll deal with that in your own weird way as well. And I think often we try to live our lives in a way that we think we're supposed to, and we often fight our own brains in that respect. The minute that I understood that I was neurodivergent, for example, that I had an ADHD brain, I work completely differently now than how I did before. I was trying to do it in a way that I was told, this is how you do business, this is how you're supposed to be organized, this is how you learn. And I was like, it's not fucking working. And then when I stopped doing that and I started to experiment with, what do I like to do? How do I learn? How do I organize my home? I let go of my expectations of myself because I was tuned into being my weirdest self. I no longer kept that anxiety internally, like trying to hide it from the world. I held all of that in. I'll be the good girl. I'll keep it all inside and I won't bother anybody. And I'll do this version of me that you all like and it gets applause. But internally, I was a wreck. I was full of anxiety. When I was diagnosed and I started to really do deeper level work of who am I, what do I want to be, owned my shit as well as like the good stuff, I just went and I give it back.
Wow.
And I went, there we go. You can deal with that. If you don't like me or this version of me, I'm okay with that as well now. And it takes a while to get there. So don't be hard on yourself if that sounds like just words. It didn't take me a second to get there. But now I'm like, that's okay if that lands with you like that.
Yeah.
It's not my problem.
That's a you problem, babe, not mine. Oh, no, it's absolutely. I literally could talk to you. Look, it's 1 hour 11 minutes and 22. Oh my god, 1 22. Ah, amazing. No, but I could literally sit and talk to you all day because there's just so much gold here. But I think we'll kind of come to a close with that closing statement, so to speak, because it's so powerful. And I like to remind people, because similar to you, I've had to do a lot of work and I'm still doing a lot of work now to break through those little barriers. And I like to remind people that one thing that really helped me come out of this whole, I need to be appealable to the masses and I need to have everyone like me because I don't want to piss anyone off or don't want to say the wrong thing. The one thing that really reminds me and keeps me grounded is there are almost 8 billion people on this planet. Is impossible for every single person to like you or resonate with you. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
If you're ever struggling with any of this stuff that we've talked about, just remember 8 billion people. This is why I'm just like, of course, you can't look at people and say they're competition or they're going to take your clients or they're going to take your business. There's 8 billion people, love. I'm sure there's lots more people who like you and love you and do want to see more of you versus then those that don't. So just keep that in mind. 8 billion people. There you go. So
we're a tiny grain of sand, aren't we?
Exactly,
We are.
exactly.
I'm good.
So on that note, Holly, please can you give us a little bit of information of, obviously I'm going to leave your tags and socials and everything and your website in the show notes, but anything you're working on, anything you'd like to share with the people?
Of course. Well, I have the Happy Me Project membership, and that's been running for 4 years, and it's a lovely community. And I literally say it's the safe space to land and to come in there and share and, listen to other people's stories. And so there's the Happy Me project. And we also work one-on-one with entrepreneurs and leaders on not just the confidence side of how do you be your way to self, but also a practical side of how do you get seen. So I utilize my acting background and my having had to be seen and get my business out there and all of that, and teach people, whether it's keynote or work on a book or getting on podcasts or their stories and their messaging, and I work with people on that as well. And I am doing 2 events that are happening. One is on the 4th of October and one is on the 15th of November. So the 4th of October is in Coventry. The 15th of November is in Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast. And these are called Be Weird Live. And they are absolutely embodying everything that we have already spoken about. It will be a really fun day. Same theme as last time. So it's wear what you dare. So that will be different for everybody. Some people will be like you. They'll be coming in something like wild, gorgeous dress and being flamboyant. Some it will be, I'm wearing a pink t-shirt and I normally wear black and that's my wildest self, but it feels like that. And I'll be taking them throughout the day through this journey of owning who you are, letting go of the labels that aren't serving you anymore and you don't resonate with, but you've just been carrying them around because that's what we do. And then we'll be stepping into your most confident self and really owning who that is right now, because sometimes we don't even know who that is, that version. So we'll be leaning and giving ourselves permission, and there'll be lots of fun, lots of fancy, like dressing up and glitter and all the stuff that I love. So people can bring themselves to the space. And one thing that's really important for me as well is, because I am a loudmouth and I like tacky, glittery stuff, that's not everybody's weird. This is not about performative weird. You might be really beige and you might be really quiet and introverted. Bring that. I
Sounds
want
like
you
my
to,
sister.
like, that's it, right? But that's her beige self, and she'll be the best beige person if she leans into that. And
But you know
that's
what was really funny? Back when we were growing up, she went through a phase where she would wear neon stuff. And at one point, I'm gonna find this picture. One time, she's wearing this bright neon green hoodie,
nice.
leggings, and then she's got the same pair of trainers, one in bright blue and one in bright pink. What does my sister do? Wear one of each. And she went out shopping like that with my mom.
And if she got that outfit that I can borrow, then I'll have, because that sounds like something I'd probably wear. So we
Yeah.
just have to, fetch that out, dig that out of somewhere, the loft or
I
something.
will. Like, having been, at that Find Your Confidence event, I can hand on heart say to anyone listening, please, if you can go to one of those events, I highly, highly recommend it. I'm literally gutted that I'm not going to be able to come this year, but Holly, next year I will be there again, because
Yeah.
it was like just incredible to see and be with these beautiful souls who a lot of people came by themselves, which I absolutely love, because that is also, again, taking yourself out of your comfort zone. And for a
That's
lot
it.
of people, it's like, I've never gone anywhere by myself.
Yeah.
This is a space to do it. If you're ever going to do it at this event.
I promise, and I've had people sit completely silent the whole time at an event. It doesn't matter what you bring. We know if you're coming and you sit silent the whole time, that means just being in that room was the win.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you will never not feel protected in that space. I'm not going to force people to do it. I'll encourage you, but I'm not going to force you. Sometimes just being in that environment where you get to be around that is enough at that point. Next time, maybe you come a little bit more into it, but it's a stepping stone, isn't it?
Levels, babes. Everyone, we've all got our levels. So another key reminder and key point that we've touched on as well is, don't fucking compare yourself to other people.
Yes.
Compare yourself to yourself, because guess what? You're the most important person, and that's it.
I mean, that what way to finish. That is it.
Yeah,
That's absolutely it. In our spaces, you know that you're going to be safe to do that. And comparison can just get in the bin. It's not helping any one of us. Compare yourself with you of yesterday and see if you can grow a little bit today. And some days you will cha-cha slide back somewhere you didn't want to go, and then you'll move yourself back again, right? And
Yeah.
maybe we'll do it in sparkles and or beige, whatever we want to wear, but we'll do it in our own way, weird way, and that's it.
I love that. So with that, thank you so much, Holly. Gosh, I love you so much. Honestly, you just warm my heart, and you always bring a smile to my face. And I just want to say thank you for just being you and bringing your sparkle and your joy and your passion and your turmoil, but putting it in a way where you just found so much strength in it, and it's just such a beautiful thing. I'm going to now end, as I do with all the episodes, is with a 1-minute meditation. So if it is safe for you to do so, please do close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, hold for a few seconds, and then breathe nice and slowly out of your mouth. And today's meditation, I want to take on that topic of embracing our weirdness. So think about one quirky, weird, or unusual trait that you have. And I want you to just focus on that. Find the beauty and find the pure joy that it brings you, that this is the thing that makes you you, that makes you unique, that maybe other people haven't really understood or have called you names for it or called you out for it. Now is your chance, now is your moment to take that power back, to reclaim this weird, quirky, unique trait. Understand the energy behind it. Understand that this is what makes you stand out. What a beautiful thing to own. Feel that energy building up within you. Feel that flow throughout your body. You may even start feeling tingling. I'm hoping that you have a smile on your face now, because this is what makes you you. Feel how much lighter it is to stand in your own skin, quirks and all. Just take one deep breath, breathing in that weirdness, breathing in that quirkiness, letting it fill all over your body and inside every single cell. And then as you breathe out, opening your eyes and see how you feel. Now, please do remember to go and follow Holly if you aren't already. Go check out the tickets, and do remember to share this episode with anyone you feel could resonate or would like some guidance on any of the topics that we've shared. Download it, share it, tag us both in the socials. We will share as much as we can. And just want to say again, thank you so much, Holly. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I've loved every second of it. I always do when I'm working with you. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And it'd be lovely to hear from your listeners as well.
Please do reach out to Holly, and I will send you all love, light and blessings, as I always do. And I'll see you on the next episode.